Hello and welcome to Season 3 of Sustainapod, a youth-led podcast for the youth and anyone passionate about issues related to sustainability in Asia. My name is Chinny and I'll be co-hosting this episode with Tim. Today, we'll be discussing the sustainability of periods, a topic well known by many, though many aspects of it tend to be glossed over.
Do you know that a menstruating person creates over 187 pounds of waste just from period products? And to make matters worse, the World Bank estimates at least 500 million menstruators around the world who lack access to the facilities they need to manage their periods. In many developing countries, it's estimated that half all menstruators are sometimes forced to use items like rags or grass. Even though they can use those sanitary items like pads, it can be dangerous, as pads contain bleaching chemicals, pesticides, and heating plastics. This promotes growth of yeast and bacteria and leads to sourness, irritation, and infection. As this is a prominent problem, are there any solutions?
On to the episode. We're very lucky to have Sakshi Vasudev with us today. Sakshi is the founder and CEO of Bampads, a youth enterprise aimed to improve the sustainability, equality, and empowerment of periods and their accessibility through education and creation of their reusable pads. Welcome, Sakshi.
Hello, thank you for having me.
So, what gave you the initial idea to start Bampads?
So my dad actually gave me my first set of reusable pads. And my journey with periods when I first started hasn't been great. It was very awful in the sense that I would get yeast infection every month, or it was very uncomfortable to use the disposable pads. And throughout the time, I always blamed my body for it, that I thought, it's just my body that isn't adapting to the period products that we have, the pads and such. And when I tried the reusable pads, I noticed that was not the case anymore. And so, what could have been the difference, right? So I tried to do more research, and the more I dig in, the more I find out that, disposable pads are actually 90% plastic. But because when we all are 12, when we first start our periods, the first product we're given is a pad. It is that we don't know that there's options like tampons or menstrual cup or reusable pads out there. We just think it's pad, and we end up using it because that's the only way to sustain our periods, right? So we will not question what is in the product or how the product is made. And so I did more research and I found out, disposable pads are 90% plastic. They take 500 to 800 years to decompose. And the worst of it all is that there are chemicals on top, like carcinogen and bleached cotton, that actually affect the vagina, creating that barrier between us. And then you get that really funky smell. And it's normally because periods are not something that you talk about openly, right? It's a very hush hush topic even today. And so, with that element and then the social element that a lot of women don't have access to pads, and so they resort to other products such as making pads out of bed sheets or using old cloth or rags to sustain their periods. That's affecting their menstrual health as well in a negative way. And so, in combining that two elements, I started Bampads.
Oh yeah, that's actually. Do you think some the problems that you listed are quite unknown, especially the plastics one? I never even realized that there was plastic in it until I started doing research about it, and now I feel so much more well aware of the problems that it can cause. So could you give us a little insight into your product and how it can benefit us and the environment?
Right. So reusable pads are essentially just cloth, right? If you have a look at our website, or if you've ever felt our reusable pads, they're very soft, and it's in the shape of a pad, but literally it's just a combination of fabric, right? So there are two layers of microfiber that's very absorbent to collect your blood. And then on top is a microfleece or bamboo charcoal, as we saw, two different fabrics in two different colors to be that point of touch for your skin and the pad per se. And the back layer is actually a waterproof PUL. And so this combination really provide the utmost comfortable period reusable pads. And a lot of people would assume that, oh, it's disgusting because it's something you need to wash, it's something you need to touch. But then really when you figure out that your menstrual blood is not dirty, you tend to have a better relationship with your periods rather than, you agonizing every month that, oh, I'm gonna start periods, like, that type. And how it helped in terms of the environment is that you use our pad 2 to 3 years, right? So you purchase a set, which is around 300. If you're a student, it's 260. You purchase a set, you are good for 2 to 3 years. Now imagine you don't have to buy pads which cost around maybe $50 to $60 per month, right? And so let's say you spend $60 per month on period products, and then by 3 years you actually have saved 2,160. And because you initially invested $260, because I'm assuming, like, you are students, you actually saved $1,900 on period products alone. And I think in terms of the environment, as you already know, one pad actually takes 500 to 800 years to decompose. And if someone uses around 15 pads, so you can imagine the landfill waste happening every month. And I say this every time during a workshop. I'm pretty sure the first person who used a pad is still somewhere out there, like the pad. So unless you want it to be like a good way to leave your DNA behind on this earth, sure, go ahead. But like, reusable pad really is just a piece of cloth that's collecting your blood, but it's also helping your wallet, and it's also helping yourself preventing diseases that disposable pad might cause.
Were there any obstacles that get in your way of making this relatively new product into the markets?
Absolutely. So, first of all, the topic of period alone is a taboo topic. I'm not going to lie, right? When you go to schools or when you talk to people, especially in Hong Kong, they would automatically shy away from the topic. They're like, oh, it's I don't think it's something to be talked about in the open. And when you think about it in terms of educational aspect, in high school, let's say, they would just talk half a page about what periods are, right? They won't even explain very into details that, oh, you've got a cycle, right? You're going to have, your cycle is actually 28 days. It's not a 7-day cycle, and you have different phases. Or even if they do mention, it's very high level stuff. So they're not explaining in depth. I think that sort of adds on to the perception that periods are dirty and it's a private topic and it shouldn't be talked about in the open. And that thought process leads to thinking that, oh, if I have problem with my periods, I cannot tell anyone about it, right? So in that sense, it sort of creates that taboo that, okay, I cannot talk about periods. Now, with Bampads, because what our approach is, it's very unique that we're providing reusable pads in Hong Kong, right? Now, reusable pads, it means that you would need to wash off your blood. When people hear that, they think, ew, that's disgusting, and I don't want to touch my blood, because they have the perception that, oh, period blood is dirty, which if they had gotten the right education, they would know what period blood actually consists of. So there is a lot of taboos that we at Bampads face, because for every person we want to explain our mission, we need to explain it again and again, what actually is happening with your body and how our product works, and how you should not be disgusted that, oh, it's a period, like in a reusable pad, and be open to trying more products per so that's one of the biggest hurdles that we've faced so far. It's how to convince the people what reusable pads actually are, and to change that perception of periods.
Yeah, I totally agree with what you said about education. I don't think many of us have gotten a lot of education on periods, and especially in school. It's definitely more of a taboo topic. It's not like something people say out loud a lot. But I'm interested to hear about the reaction to your product. What do you think has been the most rewarding for a moment for you and your team with creating this product? What has the response been so far?
Every response we get from our customers or from the beneficiaries that we work with is it's very valuable, and it's very heartwarming, because it gives us hope that we know our products are not accepted by all, but we know it's accepted by some, right? And that keeps us going. So I think one of the most rewarding experience is us doing a workshop with migrant domestic workers in Hong Kong. Now, those sisters and aunties, they are the most energetic and lovely people that we've worked with. And it's been a year, I think. And it's been over a year since we had the workshops. And we're still very well connected, right? Because we created a work group to sort of facilitate attendance and location checks, but then they're still there. And when I try to promote something, or when I say, oh, I need your guys help on telling me honest feedback about the pads, more than, like, 5 to 6 of them will sign, they would send us review, or they will tell us, like, oh, your pads are really amazing. And I think it's the biggest support from them that keeps me going, that keeps me and the team going, that we know our products are working, and we're gonna slowly but steadily make the difference in Hong Kong.
What do you think can be done to improve the sustainability in the future?
Education, I would say, because there's already limited products for menstrual products, right? We've got pads, tampons, menstrual cup, reusable pads, and a few other products. But then everyone's different, right? Maybe pads work for some, it doesn't work for others. Some prefer tampons, some prefer menstrual cups. So at the end of the day, it is the education that is most needed, right? How do you understand your body and what type of product fits for it? Because not everyone will enjoy using a reusable pad, not everyone will enjoy using a menstrual cup, right? And in terms of sustainability, in terms of the sustainability aspect, once we have that education, people can start making wise choices, right? So let's say, for example, instead of buying disposable pads, they will go for more eco-friendly pads, which are biodegradable, right, or made from organic cotton. And that sort of creates that mentality that, okay, I need to be more sustainable. So, like, let's say, for example, when we saw the turtle with the straw, right, where they were taking out the straw from the turtle's nose, it caused a lot of controversies that straw should be actually banned. And you could see the shift in people's mindset that, okay, you know what, let's skip the straws. Even McDonald's are changing the style of their cups, right? You could see now they've added like a sip cup instead of giving people straws, or not giving them at all. So it's kind of like education at the end of the day, or something, a controversy that happened will shift people's mindset that, oh, we need to start being more mindful through that, right? And they will start being mindful. And I think that's the way to go for sustainability in menstruation, is that one, educate the people about menstruation, what it is exactly. Is it dirty? Right? No, it's not. It's just your body fluid mixed with the tissues that are shredded from the uterus, right? And how much do you lose? You only lose like 50 to 80 ml per period, right? A lot of people would say 1 or 2 liters, but that's quite a lot of blood, and that's not the right number. And then two, that understand, okay, if I'm losing this much blood, oh, and this is what's happening with my body, what are the suitable products out there, and if there are any sustainable alternatives for them.
I definitely agree with you. I think
Oh,
definitely the thing about the turtle, the
so
controversy to shift people's mindsets is so important, and it's so much more prominent than we realize. It's really impacts like our society and our mindset. So I want to talk a bit about advocacy and changes. What do you think can be done by our own communities to break the gender taboo surrounding periods?
Talk about it more. Like for students per se, right? Don't be shy to say the word periods in front of your male friends, right? Or don't be shy to ask for a pad. Hide your pads in your sweater or in your pocket immediately after getting out, because that is just adding to the taboo that a period must not be seen, or period must be quiet, right? And only when you start talking about it, that is when you sort of are collectively lifting the taboo around periods. Because you know that speaking about the topic is more comfortable. I can tell you, when I was 12, I can say this with 100% confidence, that the 12-year-old or 13-year-old me would be very ashamed of me talking about periods today, because, well, when I was young, I grew up in a family where periods should not be talked about in front of men. So that meant, in a house full of girls, my dad was the only guy. We have to be really hush hush about periods. And when I started working with my dad, when he started asking questions like, oh, what are panty liners, or like, what I can do to help, it sort of created that mindset shift that, okay, you know what, we can be open, right? Ultimately, guys know about periods, right? If you like, maybe they don't know too much, but then they know it exists. But then duty to help them explain more, okay, this is what it is, and then it will just sort of like, become like a normal thing rather than a taboo, I would say.
If that's the case, then how education play a role in menstruation and people's perception of it?
Now imagine you go to a workshop, right? You go to have educational workshop that's teaching you everything you need to know about periods from A to Z. So normally what school do, they will tell you, oh, you bleed 3 to 5 days. The reason why you bleed is that your uterus lining is shedding because like egg didn't fertilize, full stop. But then they don't go in depth to, okay, you know what, you've got different phases, or how does your hormones fluctuate, like, what can you do to relieve cramps, or what can you do to maybe do different exercises, or how do you take care of yourself when you're on your periods. A lot of people still don't know that, right? When should you change a pad, right? Or like, how should you take care of yourself? How hygienic should you be? Should you be taking shower every hours when you change a pad, or like every day to maintain hygiene stuff? So there's a lot of stuff that education covers, I would say. And because whenever you think about it, when it comes to menstruation, there are a lot of questions that women have, right? A lot of common one would be, why does my back hurt when I'm on my period, right? Or why is my body feeling sore because of periods? Like they don't understand, it's all related to the hormones that you have, right? And sending out signals to do that, and it leads to like a pain. You feel drowsy, you feel sleepy, you want to just sort of relax, right? You get cravings. So these are the type of stuff that educating girls especially can change. Instead of just taking it in a scientific note, take it in a health note, as you would do in a sex education workshop. So if you're taking it in a health note, we know more about our bodies then. And I always say this to everyone, and it's a quote that I use, that menstruation is not a burden, but it's a superpower, because it tells you what's wrong with your body. If there's something wrong, if your cycle comes in too late, you can understand, you need to know why your cycle is coming too late. Maybe there's something wrong with the body, or like, something's not right. Or color of the blood matters a lot as well. If it's too dark, then you can understand you're not drinking enough water. If you are too much blood, then you need to go to the doctor. You need to understand. So menstruation is actually signifying a lot of health concerns that you might overlook. But then your periods, or the way your body is acting on your periods, can tell you that, okay, you know what, this is happening, and look into why it's happening.
I definitely agree. I think the idea of just the symptoms that we experience can definitely be a part of hormones. And I think it's so much more unknown to people and I do actually really agree with it. Tells you about the health of your body, and it's not a burden, because it's something that people don't realize and something people don't really pay attention to. They tend to, account these kind of problems with other things, but you can learn a lot just from a period. So I want to talk a bit about period poverty, because I know it's something that your company is very passionate about addressing. And how do you think we can continue to alleviate the problem of accessibility to sanitary products present in so many places around the world?
I think the question really boils down to what are they lacking, like, in terms of sanitary products, in terms of sanitation, really, because sanitation is not just about having a lack of sanitary products, right? It comes down to, do they have toilets to change the pads? Do they have clean waters to wash their hands? Do they have clean toilets to, like, switch their pads when it comes down to that? And you're starting to see that there are a lot of countries who are making a change in their sanitation policy, right? They want to give the right of sanitation to everyone, right? Everyone has the access to clean toilets, to clean water, and such. And when it comes to period products are charged. Now, obviously, because factories need to make money, right? They need to give salary to people, and so period products are not free. And then at the end of the day, the question boils down, then who should pay for the pads? Taxpayers or the government or ourselves, right? Now, very funnily, a lot of countries include tax on top of pads, which doesn't make sense, because why is a basic necessary product being taxed? So, Scotland the other day actually made a policy that all period products will be free, which means whoever needs it can get it. Now, this actually will lead to benefiting those people who don't have access to period products to actually get period products for themselves, right? So take this scenario, for example. So a woman who has children needs to get pads, but she only has enough money to either get pads or food. What do you think she will pick?
Probably food.
She will pick food, because menstruation becomes a second priority to her, as she can use other methods, like an old cloth and an old rag. But she doesn't know the harmful effect of it, but it will be uncomfortable for her. But then money is more valuable when she gets food for herself and children, because she needs to survive. And that's where period poverty comes into play, because these women, they don't have money to buy pads, but then they're somehow using other products. On top of my head, I know I watched a documentary from Kenya. She mentioned chicken feathers or goat skin, right? Or sitting under the tree. There are other measures that people use to sustain their periods, but then it's been something that they've been doing for, let's say, maybe a couple hundred of years. But then they think that pads are expensive, and they'd rather not use the money, and they can use other methods to sustain their periods. And that's how sort of period poverty develops. So then, it in a nutshell, not having clean water or clean toilet and not enough money to buy pads creates that period poverty situation in the first place.
Thank you, Sakshi, for sharing all of your insights with us today. I honestly learned so much about product in my own body and education for periods. Also, thank you to the listeners for tuning in this week with us. We would love to hear from you about the episode, so let us know your questions and comments by messaging us on Instagram at sustainapod_GIH or email us at sustainapod@gmail.com. Thank you.